This video isn't from 2 years ago, the start of COVID. It is from now in China, where tens of millions of people are in quarantine. Entire areas of the country are shut down and in mandatory testing as the country resumes its zero COVID policy and there is an outbreak. This isn't a story about COVID in China. It's about how COVID in China is about to make the rising prices and empty shelves crisis here in America much, much worse. Take, for example, Shenzhen, a major hub of trade between the United States and China. Factories make a slew of electronics and auto products. Now, the Apple supplier there is shutting down factories, as are some of the auto suppliers, to comply with the local government's order that all non-essential businesses close back to March of 2020. And such disruptions last weeks, and they can be extended. That will now affect shipments on a slew of products, from iPhones, other Apple items, tech products from other companies, including desktop computers, headphones, and components for cars for an auto industry that is already grappling with delays. That is just the beginning. COVID's getting a lot worse in China. Elisabeth Braw is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and joins us now. If this continues, it'll make the sort of empty shelves crisis we just went through look like sort of a trial run, right?
Something like that. And the challenge with when any part of the supply chain is disrupted is that then there's a knock-on effect, because all these different segments have to fit together, or otherwise the supply chain doesn't work. So if warehouse workers get sick, if warehouses are closed because of COVID, then you can't get your products from the factory to the port and then to the rest of the world, meaning us. So it's an incredibly fine-tuned process. And when there is a disruption, as is beginning to happen now, the rest of us, as consumers around the world, will see the consequences.
Yeah, I'm thinking about China dependence, because it is a small part of the world economy. It's about 15% of GDP, and the White House likes to say, oh, it's 15% of the world economy, don't worry about it. But China dependence, 80 to 90% of rare earth minerals come from there. That goes into every piece of electronics, into a lot of cars that we use. Number one in electric vehicle supply chain, 80% of global share of solar cell manufacturing, and just about everything we buy from Amazon. 2 years ago, everyone talked about moving manufacturing back to the United States. Has enough of that been done to save us from future Chinese factory shutdowns?
No. And it's very hard to do it, because when you think of the finished product that you and I buy, say a car or a bed or a laptop, that product has traveled around the world many times, because components are made in different countries, including China. They then travel to a second country to be put together into sort of a semi-finished piece, and then they may travel to a third country where they are assembled into the final product.
The way the Chinese are dealing with this is so different than the way the rest of the world dealt with it. They make California look like Florida in how they deal with COVID. Is there any thought that the Chinese are going to rethink this simply because their economy may not survive shutting down over the next year?
They seem to be almost neurotic about epidemic outbreaks or COVID outbreaks. Now, I think as a result of having missed that crucial early week, those crucial early couple of weeks of COVID back in 2020. So they are not going to take any chances. But the problem is that when they shut down, it doesn't just affect them, it affects everybody. And I think it's most consumers don't realize that even if they buy a car or a laptop that's made in the US or Europe, it has parts in it that are manufactured in China, and changing that will take a very long time. It's not just a matter of setting up a factory here in our countries and say, oh, now we have an American-made laptop, a European-made laptop. You have to get all the components to be manufactured.
And that goes for pharmaceuticals, which a lot of the precursors come from China. It goes to so much of the other products that we use. Elisabeth, you make a great point that the Chinese are neurotic about this, and not because they're domestic politics, but it seems like it's going to just get so much worse as COVID spreads. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.